Hello, this is our first episode of Pause for Pixels on our scripted channel. I am David.
I'm Eric.
And today we're going to be reviewing Bioshock Infinite. Now, sure, there's been a lot of reviews out there about this game and a lot of buzz, and we just want to give you our honest opinion, and just so you can spend $60 or not. And you'll find out today if you should.
Right.
So let's go over what the game is about real quick. You play as Booker DeWitt, just a normal Pinkerton in 1912. You get told basically, rescue this girl in a tower, and your debts are paid. And he is a gambler, so he has a lot of debt. Sounds very simple by nature, but is it?
Right. You go up there, and there's a lot more to this than you realize.
Columbia is a city that is in the clouds, obviously. It is very religious, worships the founding fathers of the United States. Its leaders, Comstock, and they're very racist. They want, what's the word I'm looking for? Racial supremacy on the whites, basically. And you get up there, and it's intense. It's pristine, but intense.
Oh yes, visual-wise, I would say it's very breathtaking. It's a very nice, welcoming city. You know, it's kind of contrasted from the original Bioshock and Bioshock 2, where it's dark and it's dank and, you know, it's underground, it's underwater. You know, you go up here in the sky, it's vibrant, it's colorful, it's very warming, it's very inviting.
What I found really interesting about the game is that it mixes two things that today do not go together, and that is religion and science. In Colombia, these two are melded together in ways that kind of make sense, even though today you look at these two separate entities and they couldn't possibly go together. What did you think about Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, when you first get to Elizabeth and the tower, first, you know, you're like, oh, I feel like it was gonna be, what I'm looking for, like you were gonna have to guide her through the whole thing, but in turn I felt like she was more like guiding you through the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
she definitely was an emotional center. I would say, like, when she experiences you killing somebody for the first time, she, you know, is scared to death, you know, and later on, she grows up in that aspect. I'm not going to go into specifics because it's kind of a spoiler, but it's very also reminiscent to, you know, the old Disney princesses, like Beauty and the Beast, Belle, and that.
Yeah, I can see that. More, you know, little Rapunzel in there too, in the tower, and you gotta climb the tower. But
Yeah,
just
like,
not her hair.
the first scene where you see her, you kind of hear like, "Tell us all this time," you know.
Right. I got that too. I kind of got like a Disney moment when you first looked and you saw her there, and you know, and you're like, oh, I can relate to this a lot with the things that I know now from back when I was a kid, you know, and it's just that. But when as you play through the game, you know, you start learning more about her and what she's about, and you just kind of feel a little connection with her there. You know, you feel like you need to get her out of there.
Mm-hmm. And I also would say her AI is on par to what Half-Life did to the video game world back when that came out with their revolutionary AI system. Same way Elizabeth is programmed in ways that I never thought I would ever see a video game character programmed in. I mean, she was very vibrant, almost to a scary extent. You know, you feel as she does.
I mean, I agree there. I mean, the AI is not as advanced as you could be, but from what they've done so far, I mean, it's a step in the right direction as far as AI, not just for Bioshock, but just like any other game genre out there. You know, it's what this AI right here is what other game companies should be looking at as a basis for their idea for their game.
Also, another aspect of the game the scenery that is coupled with the violence that is portrayed in the game. Now, violence is not a necessity to video games. I'm not saying that, but the scenery in this game does not mix with the violence at all. But it makes a statement towards that. The first time you kill somebody in the game, it is literally the most pristine place. The grass is green, clean cut. I swear they took a fucking ruler to each blade of grass to make sure it was uniform. That's how pristine this place is. And then you're murdering people in it, you know, and it deals with that fact too, and with Elizabeth,
and not just that, just the very first murder, you know, it was just left field. It was kind of on instinct in the game, but the way it was portrayed, it was just like shit just got real all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
It went from happy-go-lucky, you know, fun times, this is going on, that's going on, everyone's having a good time, to oh shit.
And that brings us to also the gameplay. The gameplay kind of doesn't hit the mark in certain areas as it should. I mean, the combat is fun, it's very fluid, but it's at times too much. And especially when you just want to complete the game and learn the story because it's so intriguing. I haven't been so intrigued about a story in a while in a video game like this.
Right. And what you're saying, you know, you got the combat, but there are times too where combat pauses for a while and you get a chance to go more in depth on what's around you, and you look at your surroundings and understand more of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and as like you said with Elizabeth's AI, she'll interact with other objects in the game, inanimate objects, and point out and describe it to you. What's this about? What's that about? And if you're not interested, she won't be interested either, and she will move on along with you.
Which is as impressive as all hell. With the the slight negatives in the gameplay, the story still makes up for it. Once you hit the ending of the game, you're like, wow, that is amazing. And then you want to replay it just so you can pick it up again. Like, understand the story better from the perspective of playing it again.
Right.
You can also find little secrets in the game that better the story. It has a replay value that is different in most games. It's not like pick up a recording and you just learn something about history or lore. No, this is more pick up a recording, you understand your specific story better. Which it's fantastic. For any shortcomings the combat the storyline makes up for 150%.
Right. And I felt in the combat, I'm talking about the combat too, I felt like, they could have did a little more with it. I mean, you get these powers in this game, similar if you ever played the first Bioshock, which most people by now should
just
have
like
had.
the plasmids.
Plasmids called Veigars, and they're just like the plasmids in Bioshock. And I felt like once you get farther in the game, some of them become totally obsolete, useless. You stick to 2 or 3 at max that you would use all the time, and just the fact that there's no really weapon diversity in the game. You get a weapon, and the only way you can get another weapon is by picking it up off another guy. But if you get to a certain sequence, you're stuck with that weapon until that part's over with.
Yeah, I personally felt the game departed a lot from the RPG element that Bioshock, the original, had, and went into more of almost a pseudo FPS, like Call of Duty kind of combat element. You're only able to hold 2 guns. You don't really even have an inventory other than clothing you pick up, which you equip. But what's really interesting is every single person I've heard that's played this game has had a totally different weapon setup that I would have never even used. So, I mean, you sure find your niche that you work with in the game, but somebody else is going to find a different niche. It's just that when you actually replay it, are you going to use the same niche? Probably. If you like using machine gun, you're going to probably always be using machine gun, because it's the most effective weapon you have if you just want to eliminate people quick, like I do. But, I mean, you can sit back and snipe, too. You can use the cover system. There are harder difficulties. Maybe some of those problems will be alleviated in those, because it was quite an easy game overall.
Well, I felt near the end of the game, difficulty kind of ramped up a lot.
Oh yeah, it spiked at the last battle. Was just crazy.
Yeah, it took me a couple tries to get through that. But once you get it, it's totally rewarding. Once you pass that part, it makes total sense, and you're just like wowed by the ending.
Mm-hmm. So as a result, because of everything we said, I would give the game the score of Gamer Magic. It is perfect the way it is, in my opinion. It could be better with the, the actual gameplay changes, but it's not going to happen, and the story is just perfect.
Yeah, I also agree. I would give this game same rating. I feel like, I really want to play through it again, and also I'm just so curious about what this DLC is going to be, because there's no multiplayer in it, so it's all single player DLC.
Oh yeah.
And as we got the season pass, so.
And we usually don't get season passes.
I usually don't get season passes at all, and I actually got this one. I don't know if you heard the early bird special. That's what got me to get it, and I'm just curious. I haven't heard anything about it, but once it comes out, I'm pretty sure it's going to be well worth it.
We are trying to set up also a discussion, spoiler-filled, about this game ending, trying to get some other friends that are almost done with it, and we'll have that posted probably in part with our Socratic Monthly. So other than that, please comment, like us, subscribe, and it's all below the screen.
And while you're down